For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. Big A Anthony Stabile, Andy Serling, the beginning of the second week and the first full week of 5-day racing here at Saratoga. It's a day celebrating thoroughbred aftercare. Nothing more important than taking care of the horses while they have careers in the racetrack. They have long lives after racing as well, and there's nothing we can do that's more important than taking care of the horses that give us so much joy in our lives.
Yeah, you got a couple of legends running around here today as well. Not running, but Uncle Si and my boy Zevo.
Do you think they count as legends?
They're New York bred legends. Uncle Si ran
Zevo's a legend
Derby.
because I think it was your last five-figure score.
No,
it might be the last five-figure score ever for you. Zevo will be here. Uncle Si. Uncle Si actually ran the Derby, but Uncle Si was a very nice horse, trained by Gary Contessa throughout much of his career, at least earlier in his career. A fun day and some nice events planned for that as well. And of course, we were brought to you by our good friends at Saratoga Water. We are always pleased to have their support. Big day for Anthony and I yesterday. We were, speaking of thoroughbred aftercare, we were scouting locations.
We were.
For our mini golf match. We have sponsors. Kirk Wyckoff from Three Diamonds is going to be my teammate, and Louis Lazzanero.
Louis Lazzanero from Nove, yes.
From Nove and many places. Louis is a true Renaissance man.
He is. Louis the best.
They're putting up $5,000 or to the loser, and the loser will pay give $5,000, I should say, donate $5,000 to Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation in support of Thoroughbred Aftercare. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we went for ice cream afterwards, and so I went up and ordered, and she said, what size? And I said, medium. And Anthony immediately said, he'll take a small. And when
I probably surprised him even more when I took a small.
Right, and Anthony says, I knew it would be bigger. The cone I got, the small, was bigger than my head.
It was.
It was pretty enormous, but it was good.
Yes, we went to Martha's, for those of you. We have Martha's here on track as well.
Really?
They have the flying saucers, the ice cream sandwiches.
Gotcha.
Yes.
It was good.
Andy had never, a Saratoga hometown guy, the guy screaming out at me on Lake Avenue on Tuesday, the hometown guy had never been to Martha's, by the way.
Shockingly, looking at the two of us, he has. The first race today has been postponed or canceled. Correct. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, head over to Naira Bets. Thank you, Anthony. How could I forget? Use the promo code SPA200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. Play through Naira Bets. Support racing in New York and keep the money in the game. We have a contest on Saturday. The Saratoga Saturday contest, $300 buy-in. Cash and seat prizes, for whatever that's worth. Go to Naira.com/contest. You have until 5 o'clock on Friday to sign up. Today's Saratoga Live, 1 to 6:30 on FS2, covering all the action from beautiful Saratoga. We got a little rain last night. The good news is that the forecast looks good through the week at this point. I mean, it is Saratoga, anything could happen, but of course last week it looked like Saturday would be a washout, and we ended up with a nice day. So we're off the turf for races 3 and 10 today. Races 7 and 8 are on the grass. Those courses are listed as yielding. We are fast on the main track. Anyhow, race number 1 on the dirt. We'll start on the outside in race number 1 with Copa.
Race number 2.
Race number 2. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I tried
to give it to you, but you weren't looking. Yeah, 130.
I try not to look at you too
138 first post for that race, by the way.
Here is Copa, 2 back at Keeneland. On a foggy day at Keeneland. It doesn't get foggy at Aqueduct. It gets foggy at Keeneland as well. Getting the job done. Was claimed out of this race for $40,000 from Dallas Stewart. Came back in a starter allowance at 9-2 for Robertina Diodoro. Dueled But the speed finished second in the race, so it's not as though the pace completely fell apart. And now he's in for 14,000. He can win, but boy, I don't trust this guy at all.
You and I both have him third, and I think we looked at it the same way. He just, all the signs to last time pointed to it being a very bad effort. Going in when he's 9-2, and then coming out, like you said, had the race held together.
What price should he have been last time?
I don't know what price he should have been, but I know that when that barn claims horses, they take money.
Well, that'll be disputed a little bit later in the card. Okay. I think he took money in that race. He was going from a $40 a 2 lifetime to a starter allowance. I don't think he was a big price. I just think he ran badly, and now he's dropping. Listen, the race goes through Copa and democratic values. There's no question about it. And I'm trying to beat 2 horses, not 1. Now, this is democratic values winning 3 back, and it was disgusting at the time because you and I both bet Dust Devil in here, and it was a gold rail, and democratic values took advantage of a gold rail this day, and this is a good example of what a gold rail can do to a 60-something buyer horse and turn him into an 80 buyer. Dust Devil, who's running 90 buyers now, lost to democratic values.
He privately purchased out of races.
Right. But for Bill Mott and Wachtel, they had a nice week with that winner on Saturday. He may win. I am not taking this guy on top.
I did. I mean, I didn't know what else to do.
You copped out. I get it. You're probably right.
I'm going to default to Rudy when these races where I don't have anything too clever to say. I just thought this horse coming
the
off
clever
the turf
part of the program
back.
will be coming. I don't know when that too clever part of the show is coming. But keep your eyes peeled. Don't miss the too clever moment in talking horses.
I copped out a little bit. I think.
Okay.
Maybe
I'm going to move on to Larceny.
I think you might want to try to get Frosted Indian into the number. He was in a much tougher spot last time out. He's going to be a decent enough price with Copa taking money.
Why don't you pick him on top then?
Well,
why don't you have a little courage there?
Because he would need
too clever for you.
Because he would need to run the best race of his life, and democratic values would kind of need to run the worst race of his life to beat him. So I'll play a 4-3 with a little turnaround.
Yeah. I just can't make Frosted Indian as fast enough. But the reality is I can make Larceny as fast enough because the interesting thing with Larceny is he didn't even run that badly on the turf, and he's a dirt sprinter if he's anything. And if you look at his dirt sprints before he went to the turf, they weren't terrible. He's running figures, 69, 72. They put him right in the mix here. He's going to be a big price. I'm not overly excited by him. I'm definitely betting on Larceny in this race. If I'm picking horses at big prices on top, I'm always going to bet on those horses. I'll use them in exactas with the favorites, but I think that Larceny is the interesting alternative in this race, picking up Ricardo Santana. Race number 3. We are off the turf in race number 3. Coalition Building will still probably be a gigantic favorite in here, and we'll take a look at her, I think her last race, where she really didn't run very well. Now, she was probably going to win this race on the turf, but I think on the dirt it's a different story, and I'm not going to be shocked when she wins, but she's burned money on the turf. There is nothing whatsoever to go on in this race. It is all just guessing. 1.125 miles on the main track now. She can win. I don't want her on top.
Yeah, I don't think I do either. You know, before this race came off the turf, this reminded me of the scene in Rounders when they're all down at the Taj Mahal and they could all play against each other in New York City, but they went down to Jersey. It's a maiden claimer, and I don't know if the other races were made in special weights in name only or if this was a maiden claimer in name only. Everybody was dropping, and you have the one first-time starter in Empress Theodora, where I wound up landing in here just because I really didn't like anybody else off the dirt. I don't know, off the turf, and I don't know if she can run at all. But she'll be a decent enough price, I would imagine, because like you say all the time, part of the reason I think you make money on off the turf days and races is because people bet horses off of turf form. They're going to bet Coalition. We're in Saratoga. They're going to bet Coalition Building, Trad Brown. They're going to bet horses like Evie's Jet, who can win. And these horses can all win, but they're going to be short prices.
Okay, that's fine. All that's true and fine. Why do you like Empress Theodora? You're taking a first-time starter that was entered for turf with slow works for a trainer that doesn't win with first-time starters, at 9 furlongs on the dirt.
So the slow work thing kind of works in the favor of the distance. The horse is not fast
This is
early.
not,
The horse
by the way,
is
for those
probably
who don't,
going
this
to
is
need.
not the oh-so-clever
The
part
horse
of the
is
show.
probably going to need a distance of ground. They're leaving the horse in. They know. Tommy Albertrani knows his horse has never run. He also knows that she's going to run a mile and an eighth today.
Should we call Tommy and confirm that? We could call Masiello, too.
The mare was 2 for 8 in her career. She was 0 for 4 on turf, so she was 2 for 4 on dirt. She had one fall.
You just said she was 0 for 4 on turf.
No, she was 2 for 8. She was 2 for 4 on dirt, 0 for 4 on turf.
But they entered her on turf.
But I understand that. Is part of the reason they entered her on turf because they need to get her long? I got no tip. I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to turn lemons into lemonades with a horse with a race that's off the turf that I thought was troubling on the turf. I think it becomes a little bit more of a crapshoot on the dirt. Just give me the horse that's going to be a big price. That's the unknown. I know what the rest of them can do on turf, and I don't like what I've seen. Now they're going to a surface that, for the better part of their career, has not been the intended surface. She's going to be a big price.
Well, her being a big price is probably not in your favor. Nevertheless, good luck. As far as Peace Be the Journey, she's going to be in front based on her first race.
Should be.
And Decoration Wars, I thought track could be wet. It's obviously not. I'm not thrilled with this horse. She comes out of a bad maiden race. I took a horse I thought would be in front, whose price wouldn't be that bad in this race, and I took my chances with her. You have to discuss, if you're going to logically discuss the race, horses like the 8 Blue Lily. It's unusual. Wesley Ward ran this horse short in the turf first time, and then he entered MTO in the dirt. Now, the dam did run 80 buyers in the turf. Her foals were dirt and turf horses. Not exactly my kind, but obviously dangerous. Evie Jets is a half to a horse that did have some decent dirt races, buyer figures in the 90s, also some buyers in the 60s as well. And she is second off a layoff. I wonder if a mile and eighth is really too far for Evie Jets, but I think she's very dangerous. I'm going to use the 1, 5, and 9 primarily in here and try to beat the 1. Who can win, but I think the 5 and 9 are the interesting horses. Anthony's gone with a first-time starter. Race number 4, I like Barres. Barres is not going to play in here. We'll start the conversation with Ready AP, the West Point horse, who there's about no chance. By the way, guys, those aren't my picks. My picks are 3, 5, 4. The 2 is scratched, please. I think this horse is a horrendous bet in this race. Even though I end up with her second, scratch. But she's going to be favored because of the big margin, and you could have timed this race with a sundial. And, you know, I just find these races, these kind of horses rarely do take that monumental figure step forward enough to justify their price.
Okay. She didn't have the best start last time, and she still won by the length of the stretch. She was rumored to be a good one out of the Christophe Clement barn. She overcame the trouble and still won. Well, I would imagine with a clean break, with what's left in here, she's going to be a lot closer to the lead.
Well, she was already close to the lead.
I know she's a filly against the boys. I don't really worry about that with the 2-year-olds. I think if she runs back to her first race and has a clean start, figure aside, I think they're going to have their hands full today.
Yeah, I scratch into her for second. I guess she can win. I don't like her particularly. Probably if I wasn't getting the scratches 10 minutes before we came on the show and having to redo picks in numerous races today, I probably wouldn't even have her second. I'd probably have somebody else second. As far as Run Curtis Run and Surprise Boss, I'm still smarting from betting Surprise Boss in this race at over 5-1. We'll show you a stat for Mike Maker, and he chooses to run this horse, Run Curtis Run, and they're not running Barres. I imagine it's probably unrelated that they're running one and not the other one. At the end of the day, they're okay. The race was just 19 days ago. At least Coinage has a little more time, hasn't run since June 17th. And I thought Coinage was much more professional second time out. I don't have an opinion in this race, Anthony. I actually liked Barres. With the scratches, they can all win. I don't really have a particular opinion here. I don't know enough about these horses. I don't know who the real speeds are. I don't know who the real closers are. I'll get Coinage. I don't know.
Okay.
I look at this race and I say, how do you have an opinion here? How do you really have an opinion here? And at the end of the day, Ready AP is probably going to be massively overbet because they're going to see the 8-length win. Now, Coinage has almost an 8-length wins as well, and I think they're going to get all gaga over her. And I didn't see it in her first start. You like her more than I do. Obviously, she can win. By the way, race number 4 is named for Rick Violet. Let's give a little love to Rick Violet, who we lost under 2 years ago, right?
It was October of 19, right. And Rick was just a wonderful guy. We all fought with Rick, but Rick fought for all of us. Yep. And Rick was a pioneer in the thoroughbred aftercare. Yep. He was a founding member of the TAA. He was just an unbelievable guy. Great horseman. It gets lost in the shuffle for all he did. He was a great horseman as well. And he is sorely missed, and it is nice to have this stakes today and appropriately having aftercare day on the day of his race.
I couldn't agree more. To know Rick was to have argued with Rick at some point, but to have also respected him. And, yes. He had Diversify at the end who won the Whitney. Yep. And it's a real loss to racing. Listen, you lose people, and we've lost a lot of people, but I think Rick's loss was an enormous one. As you say, he fought for everybody in racing, and he fought hard for it. Yeah. And he was a worthy adversary for those that fought with him.
He sure was.
And he was a really smart guy. He was around for a long, long time. And, there's a lot of people Saturday were having Lustgard.
Was he 2018 or 2019? I'm starting to think it was 2018 now.
Saturday we're honoring Dominic Galuccio with Lustgarden Day to raise money for pancreatic cancer. We lost Dominic. We've lost a lot of people, but Rick is one. She, as you said very eloquently, really was an incredible contributor in a positive way to racing, especially in New York.
In a bunch of facets.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And frankly, it was nice having him around. He was just a good guy to have around.
Love talking horses with you too.
No, he was great. Rick was
shooting the breeze.
He was far better than just one of the good guys.
Yeah, no question about it.
He was much, much more than that.
Yep.
Race number 5. Well, I was certain that Anthony would pick the Jimmy Bond horse in here, so because of that, I took out Galena's second place finish, and you can tell us why you like Galena here.
Dropped in for the tag. And now we're in Saratoga, and the barn's waking up, and the horses are running better. I don't know. This horse was obviously in over her head in the special weight races. Found her friends in the claiming ranks, and I would imagine a similar effort is going to put her right there.
There's no question that she can win this race. But I couldn't possibly disagree anymore with the notion that the barn is waking up. The barn ran horses that lost some races. They probably had a little bad luck. They had massively good luck here. And they're a barn that wins. They got one horse that won that was second best, but the Todd Pletcher horse blew the break completely and would have won, Chocolate Cookie. They have another horse who's a very good horse who had finished second as stake at Aqueduct in his last start that was able to crawl on the front end. And Value Proposition is his own worst enemy, and he did his little act. And Delaware was badly compromised by the pace. I don't believe the barn is waking up, just like I don't think they were ever dead. I think they weren't winning some races. They ran a lot of bad horses that were big prices. And I don't think there's any perceptible difference between how their horses ran up here so far than how they ran at Belmont. I think they just got in the right spots. They got a little fortunate in them, and they won. I believe this horse can win, though the last race I don't think is good enough to win this race. But I think it's a misnomer to suggest that they're waking up and they suddenly want to unload on all their horses because they won 2 races under very fortunate circumstances. I think that would be a mistake.
I don't just think it was the winners. I feel like all of the horses have been.
Who else?
Just running. I don't have.
Well, we need.
A name
I don't.
For it.
I don't know.
I don't have to give a name.
Well, you do. If you're going to give us an example, you're going to put a blanket statement that other horses running better. I want to know who they are because I don't recall any.
Okay.
I don't. I mean, if somebody wants to text me and tell me the horses there that outran their PPs, I don't think either one of those horses outran their PPs. I think they ran the good races they've run, and they won.
Okay.
Doesn't mean this horse can't win, but his last race is not being Raffinity. And listen, I'm no big Raffinity fan, but as you like to say, finding their friends. She has found her friends today, and I think that a little less distance is going to be better for her at 7 furlongs. And I know she's a heavy favorite, and here I'm not going to ground. I just think she's going to beat these horses and beat them like a drum. She's just too fast for them. I thought Handle the Truth was a little bit interesting as an alternative. She's getting a rider change, right, to Benji Hernandez, I believe. since her last dirt races. She's been running on the turf. If you go to the Derby, she's got a 60 buyer fig in one of those turf races. Granted, that was a sloppy track, and this track is dried out. Remarkable job, by the way. But I think that she's actually good enough to be competitive in here behind the favorite. And I'm going to try to get her in there second. I'm going to play a 7-8, little box and press 7-8.
I might try and get Elegant Lauban into the gimmicks in here. Big price, 30-1. Sprinted first time out against Open Company down at Tampa, then came up and ran into Teetotaler going a mile. Was kind of against the grain the second time. I don't know.
She was?
Yeah, she was outside.
I didn't think that was an inside day, 28th of February. I can look it up.
Wasn't that the day? Tiergan came up the inside and all those horses won inside?
I don't know. I'm going to look it up.
Grit and
I'm
Glory.
going to look it up. I got the track trends at Belmont. Let's get the track trends, and we'll do it during the break. Because we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with all sorts of clever stuff. Clever moments are coming.
Make business meetings exquisite. Make a weekend outing exquisite. Make a late night snack exquisite. Make a night on the town exquisite. For nearly 150 years, the Saratoga Spring Water Company has been producing the finest spring water available anywhere. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Talking Horses, presented by Saratoga Water. Anthony's correct. Big Good Rail Day on the 26th of February. Thank you for that. So that was the clever part, right? Or that was one of the clever parts.
More to come. Stay tuned.
So we've got 93 minutes to post, but you and I have about 25 minutes. But we can just keep talking as much as we want because we're in charge right now.
That's exactly
right.
We
got the mic.
We have the power.
Race number 6. Race number 6, unless you like a first-time starter, which is always theoretically possible, is about two different races, one at Monmouth and one at Churchill, that both got reasonably similar figs. We'll take a look at the one at Churchill first, the entire race. Let's Be Clear and Take the Back Roads. I thought Let's Be Clear, the 6, had the better trip of the two. Take the Back Roads completely blew the break in there. Let's Be Clear is down in the inside. Those Matacat silks. Looks like there'll be the Michael Dubb silks today. And Take the Back Roads, makes the wider move after blowing the break. Of the two, I prefer the 10. Take the Back Roads, who I thought had the slightly worse trip. Wider, blew the break. I don't have a strong opinion. I went to the horse side of the other race, as did you.
I think you and I just kind of flip-flopped the Monmouth horses and the Churchill horses. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have a very strong opinion in this race. The one race. Now, this race, the race today is one of these restricted races. We started these 3 years ago. This is for horses that have sold at sale or RNA'd for $45,000 or less at their most recent sale, because you're going to look at the number 8 So Live, and you're going to see 57,000. So,
do we know the story there?
I don't know the story there. I would assume that this horse was sold, that she was sold as a yearling for 57,000, and then came back and sold in a 2-year-old sale for less than 45,000.
You are friends with Michael Imperio.
And I actually spoke. It's funny. I had forgot. I didn't have my PPs in front of me, but I was given the correct pronunciation of this horse yesterday for Johnny I. And I forgot to mention it. I had my PPs in front of me. I forgot to mention it. I'm going to assume.
This is not the clever part of the show.
I'm going to assume that's what happened, though. Because it says the most recent
but I would
sale.
like to know that because I think it.
Well,
I think
Michael,
it's
I'm sure you're listening. If you can text me,
I think it's important that people know because that is a condition here, and I think that many of our players saw that, and they probably had the same thought. One thing about our players, you don't fool them. They're the clever part of the show, actually. As far as Morning Matcha, the 2, and next Tuesday, I really do prefer Morning Matcha, these two horses. We'll show the break and the slop, and this is a race that was won by Mainstay, who finished second in the Schuylerville. And Morning Matcha just doesn't come out of the gate. Now, next Tuesday is fast, and I think that may suit her very well in this race. But when you consider the way this race was run at 4.5 furlongs and the break, I have the answer, by the way.
Okay.
I'll give it in a second. The way they broke, I think, and we can get this off, that the morning match ran the better race. Broke slow, was 3, 4, 5 wide in this race, whereas next Tuesday, broke like a shot and was in good position the whole way. And I thought that morning match would be the one that would be more professional and more likely to take the step forward. But obviously they both could win. I guess you're feeling the next Tuesday as the horse will be in front.
Yep, that was it. That was the deciding factor. So
I've gotten 2 texts.
Okay.
Thank you to Jordan Wyckoff and Aaron Yagoda. RNA'd for $37,000 at the OBS sale.
Okay, so there you go.
In October. So there we go. Thank you, guys. That was a cleverer part of the show, but it wasn't really Anthony and I. It was others. So I don't know if does that count as the clever part of the show?
No.
Okay.
I mean, well, it's part of
we got
for
4
the show.
races left. Clever's coming, okay? Just hold tight.
Clever late pick 4.
Clever is coming. Race number 7, big scratch when Absam came out. Changes the complexion of the race. What'd you do here?
I went to Just in Time for Wine. I'm going to try.
You got a 4th pick, by the way?
Yeah, they asked for it. 4, 6, 9, 12. It was on the email. I'm going to just try and bottom this
that
bunch.
guy's was on the email.
I'm going to just try and bottom this bunch out with Just in Time for Wine, who had a couple of sprint preps last time at Belmont. I feel like getting up here to Saratoga.
I'm sorry. I hear you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
We're going to show the replay. I like Devilish Mood out of this race. Now, I don't know how good these horses are, but I believe, and you disagree, which is fine, the Devilish Mood is the one you want out of this race. You see him sitting in 5th right now. He's getting ready to make his move. And as he's getting ready to make his move, that horse inside of him completely comes out on him, and he blows the turn. And you see a horse that was right behind the leaders, and I bet the winner of this race, so I'm not griping. And he's just completely taken out of the race. And there's a real distinct possibility he would have been at least lapped on the others if that hadn't happened. So I think he's the interesting horse out of this race. I hear you on Just in Time for Wine. I do think he's going to get some pressure from Gimme Some Mo. Irad has to go from that outside post. And I understand your thinking with Just in Time for Wine. I don't believe he's necessarily good enough, but I get it. I think Devilish Mood's the interesting one out of that race. We saw it a little bit differently.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, look, this is the type of race where I would feel I would feel uncomfortable with 5 of them because, I'm betting on a horse that has coughed up quite a few leads in his career. I just don't know how much I trust the rest of them.
Okay. Yeah, you've taken the horses that come out of that race that ran 2nd and 3rd. I've taken the horses out of the Trouble Trip that ran 4th. I think he's very much the one you want out of that race. Doesn't mean the others can't run. I think the horses, and we do have a clever part of the show coming up in a moment, but we'll finish this race first. The horses that are going to take money that are not impossible are the 9 and 10. Now, the 9 is a horse that dramatically seems to have improved in this long-distance races. And if you go back to the shorter races, just hasn't run that fast. His first time for a tag, which may be a little interesting, but I don't know. And as far as the 10, same thing first time for the tag. That horse seemed a little slower, but they are the new faces here. And I thought they were the 2 logicals with the scratches in here. They'll probably be the favorites. Give Me Some Mo. I don't really want that horse. He's got that one super fast turf race when he got loose at Gulfstream. The rest of his races are sort of at best put him in line. His last was bad.
What do you do with a horse like Prefect, who's 9-2 morning line?
I just said he's a horse that appears to be better going longer, but he is first time for the tag. I am definitely going to be using him.
And I mean, he's faced 3 stakes horses in his last 4
longer.
races. Yeah,
I wonder if he's a mile and 16th just might be a short for his best. He can obviously win
Broker's
here.
mating on the mile.
But those races aren't really good enough to be anything better than mildly competitive.
But they were also when he was a 2-year-old, so you got to expect a little bit of improvement, no? 2-year-old, early 3-year-old year. I would imagine he's just a little better now.
Middle of his 3-year-old year, he was running at a mile and an eighth, and he wasn't running particularly effectively. At best, he was running competitively with these. He's clearly a horse who seemed to improve with the distance. I don't think you can argue that. And the other thing is, in general, wasn't he just sort of being sucked along in those races? I mean, he had those, sort of 5th beaten 6th length in route races. Did he really run well in those races, or did he just get like the brought in? He can win. I'm not. how about Fair-Haired Boy? I was talking to David Aragon about him earlier today, and isn't he kind of a weird horse in here? You know, that stake, the Laurel Futurity, was a tougher race. As Dave was pointing out, Field Pass was actually fourth in there. Then he comes back and has sprinted 5 furlongs. I thought he was a little sneaky for Saffie Joseph, potentially a horse to throw in. I think this is a fun race. I think there's some interesting things going on here. A lot of it because Saratoga, we get the shippers.
Yes.
Just to let you, to fill in the 2 other horses that Jimmy Bond ran in last week in Saratoga. One ran last, and the other ran second to last. So I don't think they did any running. So anyhow, that's race number 7. I thought this was one of the more interesting races. I think a lot of horses can win this race. I think there's a lot going on. Keep in mind the turf is yielding, it's nice weather, so it'll dry a little bit, but there's given the ground as well, and that could potentially throw a monkey wrench into things as well. Race number 8, this one will be on the Mellon at 5.5 furlongs. So I'm so good at figuring out what horses you're going to pick that we've got 3 outlaws finishing second to a tremendous pick by you on Noble Emotion, who paid like $20 or more in this race and Wire the Field. That was a sensational pick. I believe the horse you want out of this race is Discretionary Mark. I don't know who came up with the plan to rate him last time, but whoever did, that was not the clever part of that race. I think he's the horse you want out of there. If you're going to use somebody out of that race, you obviously disagree.
No, I mean, 3 outlaws. Noble Emotion kind of got away with a pretty easy pace that day.
He did.
And this horse did, a lot of he did the bulk of the running. He's just been in form since coming back to Rob Actress. I mean, we've already talked about Dancing Buck a few times on the show. He beat Scuttlebuzz, and Scuttlebuzz came back to win the condition. He's just an in-form horse. He always shows up, and in these turf sprints, you kind of feel like if you can find a horse that's reliable, you can trust him.
You didn't think this was a tougher race, though, than the ones he's been running?
I don't know if it's a tougher race. I'll tell you what, I think he's supposed to get, and again, I have learned that you can't really rely on this too much, but isn't he supposed to get a little bit of a better setup in here?
I have no idea.
Discretionary Mark supposed to go, right?
The last thing I'm
analyze this and that, supposed to have some speed.
Well, hang on.
Fast Getaway's going to the lead.
Hang on. Fast Getaway is the speed
in
this race. He's significantly faster than these horses early, and he's getting blinkers on.
The blinkers on don't always necessarily mean, I don't know how much faster he can go, Andy. So the blinkers on don't necessarily mean that it's going to add speed to him. The blinkers more often than not.
I don't recall saying that.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is you said he gets the blinkers on. I would think, if anything, there's a chance he doesn't go to the lead, and the blinkers are to get him off the pace.
Okay, if they rate him today, they should get help after the race. Literally, if they rate him today, there should be like an intervention. He's the controlling speed in here. I don't know why you would
disagree with that.
Controlling speed. I don't know why Jose Ortiz and Linda Rice would rate controlling speeds. If they choose to do that, then I'll lose. I get it, but I can only go by what I see. I can't start handicapping, guessing people are going to rate lone speeds.
No, I got you.
If it happens, so be it. There's a lot of craziness around here these days. I think Discretionary Mark will be forward, too. I can't imagine they're going to make the mistake that they made with him last time, because Discretionary Mark is not a horse I like. But he ran extremely well 2 back when he was involved in that insane pace. And if he's able to run back to that race, he's going to be effective in here and run well. I think they're the 2 most interesting in here. Gandy Dancing is a half to a couple of turf winners. They weren't very good, but I think you could argue they improved on the turf, and so maybe he could move forward, and I'm going to include him as the wise guy horse. What am I missing about Swashbuckle and Alfalfa, who have second and third?
Well, Alfalfa's races out of town I thought were okay. And this is a horse that was on the circuit for a while. I thought Alfalfa's races were...
Well, he was on the circuit breaking his maiden a $40,000
maiden. I think there's a chance for a little pace in here. I think that would help him. And I think Swashbuckle...
he's 100-1, so that's fine.
Yeah, I think Swashbuckle's kind of along the same lines. Maybe they get a little movement up front.
But he was sitting on a slow pace last time and went backwards.
Right, but
Doesn't he go against your theory? You've got him second. based behind a horse that you picked because he was able to make up some ground in slow pace, which is fine. But now you're taking a horse that was sitting on top of the slow pace and went backwards.
Well, I'm hoping that if they mix it up a little better, he can punch late. That's my hope. And I wanted some prices in here. I didn't like.
But his only good race is on the.
I didn't like that going a little long. I didn't like the horses that were going to take the bulk of the money in here.
Okay, we saw this race completely differently. Race number 9 at 1 1/8, and this race was dramatically affected by scratches. So much so that I had to change my picks because these are the picks I would have made if this had been the 5-horse field that was originally drawn, and I'm not going to not do that because American Dubai is a new horse since Robertino Diodoro claimed him, and bucking the idea that all his horses take a lot of money. So this was 14-1 off the claim first time out, and while I was in against Bankit, he shouldn't have been that price. And I'm very confident that if American Dubai runs the race that he ran at Oaklawn on April 24th, he has a big chance to win. And I don't think he ran that badly last time, frankly, against horses like Sprawl, Night Ops, and Mighty Heart in their last start. Those horses are pretty good. So Mighty Heart was a winner of the Queen's Plate and the Prince of Wales. Sprawl ran a very respectable third on the engine in the Stephen Foster in his next start. And I don't know that he's good enough to beat highest honors in Forza Dioro. And if Forza Dioro runs his Discovery, which we'll look at in a second, he's probably not going to. But he's going to be in front. And I have to pick him in this spot because he's not going to be close to favoritism because the 2 and 3 have to be, and they should be. And we'll take a look at Forza Dioro's Discovery. And I'm with you. You were on this horse way before me. And I laughed at you, and I was dead wrong, and you were way on top of this horse. He runs his Discovery. It doesn't matter what my horse does, but he's got so many stops and starts, Anthony.
He does.
I just worry they can't come. I hope he does.
He does. I caught him at the end of his...
you liked him too back. We paid $23.
No, I caught him at the end of his morning moves the last few mornings out here hosting the breakfast at Saratoga. He looks the picture on the racetrack.
The picture?
What
is the picture?
I got to tell you, he looks very good. I got to tell you.
The eye test. He passed the eye test.
No, he looks the picture, man.
He's got 4 legs, mane, tail, whole
He has all of those things.
This is the clever part of the
show. If he runs his Discovery, they are all running for second money.
I agree.
I have a problem. So ordinarily, I am a sucker. I'm not saying you are, but I'm a sucker in a race like this where a horse like American Dubai, who looks like he's going to have the absolute run of the race.
Well, I don't even care the run of the race. He's good.
Yeah, I don't know how good he is. See,
I know how good he's been in his last 2 races.
That's my problem.
And that's good.
See, I don't think his last race was that great. I think his last race, and I know he's running against horses that might be a little bit better. I know if Forza Dioro was running against that field in the blame, I'd be betting Forza Dioro.
No, if Forza Dioro that ran in the Discovery was running there, he'd win.
Yeah.
It's hard to be confident that Forza Dioro is going to show up today and he's going to be 7-8-5 in here, maybe less. I agree with you. If he runs Discovery, it doesn't matter. He'll win. But this is a horse that ran as a 2-year-old. He comes back 10 months later, runs 2 bang-up races, and then he disappears again for another 8 months. That's a concern. These horses, more often than not, don't come back to that good form. I hope he does. I love to see this guy in the woodwork.
And here's the problem now as you stack the race, right, as you make the picks for the race. Highest Honors was awful in his first start back, and then Highest Honors kind of woke up.
He did. We'll watch it, but he woke up with a perfect trip in a 6-horse field.
He absolutely did.
And, Winston's Chance is one of my favorite horses. I love Winston Chance, but...
No, he didn't beat much.
Right.
He didn't beat much.
And he got a 94 buyer. He definitely improved, but...
He had a pretty good trip when he came back, too, and he stunk.
He stunk. No doubt about it.
But now he had the good trip and he came. So to me, I don't think it's as much about the trip as about the fact that he needed to knock the rust off, and he's back now. This is a horse that Chad Brown ran in the Travers in his 4th start.
He ran well in the Travers.
He got beat 5.5 lengths and then was gone for 2 years. So now you got to deal with him. And to a little bit of a lesser extent, West Willpower
He's no bum.
really hasn't done much wrong in his career.
I don't disagree.
He was part of, he was involved.
But has he done enough right to beat these horses?
No, he hasn't. But I'll tell you what. If they think American Dubai is going to run to the first turn and be clear, I would imagine West Willpower is going to try to hold position over him as long as he can.
American Dubai is fast.
He's fast. I know he is. But what I'm saying is it's not going to be a gun and clear. I would imagine Joel Rosario, knowing he can't let American Dubai get too far away, is going to do what he can to keep West Willpower close.
It's a 5-horse field. If Diodoro and Cohen are planning to not send American Dubai the lead.
No, he's going. Of course he's going.
And he also dueled in that race, by the way. It wasn't like he just got clear and romped around. He was in a significant duel in that race and disposed of the field. They're supposed to go. You may be 100% right that at the end of the day, the 8th pole, he's going to realize who he is and who they are, and it's not going to matter.
Right.
But I think he's not the worst gamble in here at what will be a square prices alone speed, because I don't think that Ayaz Honor's last race was that good. And I hope Force Dior runs great. You know, you won me over on him. I bet the second horse in Discovery, he had a perfect trip, and Forza Dioro was like kicking sand on the weakling on the beach.
Flicked him away. Yep.
Yeah, no question. I'm excited. You know I'm excited.
This is a good race.
To see him back
this is a fun race. This is like a co-feature today.
Well, this is a prep for the Woodward. You know, I mean, this is not the Woodward, Jocko Gold Cup. Excuse me. Race number 10 is off the turf. I'd like Sandor Clegane. Is that like? Oh, that's Game of Thrones.
He's the Hound.
There's a Game of Thrones question, the Times Sunday crossword puzzle, by the way, in case you're wondering. You probably did.
The Hound was one of my favorite characters.
In this race, I'm with you. I'm taking Jimmy Bond. We'll take a look at Dan Milano last time out. At the end of the day, if Dan Milano runs this race, he's going to win. I'm not a big fan of Papa Smooth, but given what's in here, just hard to believe he's not going to win at a short price.
Hard to look past him, right? Really hard to look past him. I wanted to take a couple of. I would have liked to have taken a little shot against him. I just took the horses that are second and third out of this race. Again, there's not a ton of dirt for him to go off of in here.
This is a dirt horse.
Yeah, he's a dirt horse, and that's
now.
What
let me just say
to.
one thing: his worst race, or his second to worst race, is on a dry track. Is it possible he's a better wet track horse?
Yeah, maybe.
It's
possible.
You know,
I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
So who are the other horses? What about the two?
He was also going a mile, and I think he's probably better sprinting.
No, I don't know. He ran well at a mile on a sloppy track, but you're probably right. That's probably fair. I mean, listen, I'm not against him. No. Everybody else is just a total guess.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Sandor showed speed in his first start in the dirt, but he backed up and got beat in the city block and ran much better in the turf. I don't see how Otter Way Boys can possibly beat him. Perfect Banker has just that one dirt race. And in fairness to him, the one dirt race that Perfect Banker ran, that's why I picked him second. You've got him third, so you saw the same thing. He's running against better horses.
Much better horses.
So I was going to use him as my backup. Yep. Okay. Anything else of interest to talk about? Movies? Is it me or the movies that come out these days? Because I could have gone to the movie like with my mom or something on Monday or Tuesday. It's just awful.
Yeah, nothing. I think that could be something that.
It's a Brad Pitt movie coming out.
That could be the industry that'll be most affected for the longest time by the lockdown.
I think they're holding these movies. When's James Bond coming out?
I don't know. I want to see. I've been waiting for Maverick, for Top Gun 2 to come out. That was supposed to be out in December.
What's Maverick?
Top Gun 2.
Oh.
Top Gun sequel?
Should I watch Top Gun 1 to get ready for it?
This guy's never seen Major League, and he's never seen Top Gun.
I could say some things that some of you are thinking at home about Top Gun.
I don't even know what to say.
That would not make Anthony particularly happy, but no, I have no interest in Top Gun. I have no interest in Top Gun.
I have no idea what to say.
No interest.
Over the course of the last 48 hours, my mind's been blown numerous times. You told me that about Major League yesterday. I didn't even know what to do with myself.
Well, I like Slapshot. I don't want to spoil Slapshot. See, I think Slapshot's one of the all-time great movies. I love Slapshot.
Baseball, I mean, Major League's probably my favorite baseball movie because the bulk of the movie is about baseball. Like, For Love of the Game and Field of Dreams, they're great, but Major League is about baseball. Fantastic.
I think we need Paul LaDuca to settle this. I really do.
If Dukes isn't on my side with this, you could knock me over with a sneeze.
I could bribe him to be on my side if he's not.
You could.
He probably should have been in Major League. I would have to discuss this with Paul. Anyhow, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to doing this over and over and over again with my main man here. You need to head over to Naira Bets and become a member of Naira Bets. Use the promo code SPA200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit.
Even Acacia Courtney's seen Top Gun. That's what I just got texted.
Okay. Most people have seen Top Gun. I have absolutely no interest in it. I'm not interested in Tom Cruise movies. I don't get the big appeal of him, though I did like All the Right Moves.
Okay.
Saratoga Saturday contests. Like, I've never seen Risky Business involved. $300 buy-in, cash and seat prize. Go to Naira Bets, naira.com/contest for more info. Could have left before the show started. FS2 from 1 to 6:30 today on the Saratoga Live, covering all the action. I'll be right here with Lafitte Pinkai III.
LP3.
Also known as LP3. It's been great.
Maybe
I hope
he's
you've
seen Top
enjoyed
Gun.
this 1/10 as much as we have.
Wow.
Johnny I will be up next, the reprise. The scratch changes. The card begins with race number 2. The steeplechase has been canceled. Have a wonderful day here in beautiful Saratoga.